Kadosh Masechet Pesahim Daf Amud Aleph 105A1. We just yesterday mentioned, right at the bottom, we were talking about the concept of when do berachot start with Baruch and when do they end with Baruch and when do they start and end with Baruch. And we gave different general rules. So we went and we said that all the berachot, they start with Baruch and finish with Baruch, except for Birkat HaMitzvot and Birkat HaPerot. Since they're such short berachot, you're not going to say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Olam, Baruch Atah Hashem Bori Priyayetz. You understand? It's short berachot, or Birkat HaMitzvot, and Beracha Smucha Lechaverta, one beracha which is going to be close to the other one. The last beracha of Kriyat Shema obviously was V'yatziv because it finishes Gal Yisrael, right? And then he says, or some of them start with Baruch and don't finish with Baruch, which is basically the one of Birkat HaMazon of the Tov HaMetiv, which is the fourth one, which it basically starts, but it doesn't finish with the Baruch. Okay, now even though it is Beracha Smucha Lechaverta, it's not part of Birkat HaMazon. It was a fourth additional beracha, which was basically instituted afterwards, right? Because of the Chachamim of Yavne, they instituted it because of the people of Harugei Betar, that they were killed, and then afterwards they were able to be buried and their bodies didn't rot. Do you remember all those things? So therefore, but it's a different part. It's not the Rabbanan of the Birkat HaMazon. Fine. So says the Gemara, so you see from here that the regular beracha has a peticha and has a chatima, which means that it starts with Baruch and it finishes with Baruch. So this is a question, Kashya le'ula, this is a question to Ula. So this is where we start today's daf. This is a question to Ula. So Amar lecha Ula, Ula is going to answer you. Hanami, who is this? He says, Hanami, this also, Birkat Avdala is kebirkat mitzvot damya. So the Beracha of Avdala is also like Birkat mitzvot. Why? Birkat mitzvot maitama. What's the reasoning why Birkat mitzvot do not finish? Mishum deodahi, because it's thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore you're not adding anything. Hanami, so too the beracha of Havdalah hodahi. It's a hodah. You're thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you're not adding anything, and that's why it doesn't finish with Baruch Atah Hashem. Okay, fine. Rav Chananya bar Shlamiyah v'talmidei de Rav havu yatzu b'seudata. So Rav Chananya bar Shlamiyah and the students of Rav were sitting in a seudah. V'kai alayhu Rav Amnuna Saba. Rav Amnuna Saba was there. He was their shamash. Okay, they were taking a long time. Amrulei, so they told to Rav Amnuna, Zil Chazei Mikdash Yoma, go see if it's already basically Shabbat. Basically, they took such a long time in their Seudah that they wanted to find out, is it already Shabbat already or not? So, Nafsik. So then they're going to stop the Seudah. Venikbeh Shabbat, and then they're going to make it as the Seudah, as the Shem Shabbat. Samar Lehu, says Rav Amnuna Saba, Lo tzrichtu, you don't have to do that. Right? You don't have to do such a thing to completely stop the Seudah, uproot the table, come back. No. Shabbata kava nafsha. The Shabbat is kovat by itself. Te'amar Rav, says Rav, keshem Shabbat kovat lemaser, just like the Shabbat starts becoming fixed to do with, right, eating of maaser. Okay, so midin Torah, you're not obligated to take off trumot maasrot from the perot, from the fruits until it finishes the melacha. But beforehand, you're allowed to eat it, right, without taking off maaser, and there's no isur of tevel. However, though the rabbis decreed that you're not allowed to eat it until he finishes, only an achilat aray, but not achilat keva, which means only as if to say something, just stam, not fixed, not a fixed meal from it. However, though this achilah on Shabbat is always going to be considered achilat keva. Okay, so he says, so too kakova legabe kiddush, so too it's going to be koveh legabe kiddush, which means that since the seudah from now onwards is considered Shabbat by itself, it's obligated in kiddush. So you don't have to completely stop the seudah. You do prisat mapa, that's what we spoke about a few days ago. You put a mapa on the table, you do kiddush, and then now it's considered like a new seudah, and this is your seudah of Shabbat, and it's on a continuation of the weekday seudah. Okay? So Savul Mina, so the students of Rav understood that just like it's kovea to do with respect to kiddush, so too it's going to be kovea with respect to havdalah. So Amalehu Rav Amram, says Rav Amram, Hachi Amar Rav, this is what Rav says, lekiddush kovat velo lehavdalah kovat. It's only going to be kovea with respect to kiddush, but not with respect to havdalah, which means that the Yetziat Shabbat is not going to be obligating in havdalah, but rather they're allowed to continue, right, their seudah, right, and only afterwards do they have to do havdalah. Meaning, by kiddush, they have to stop, put them up on top, do kiddush, and then they continue the meal. By havdalah, they don't have to. They just continue. When they finish the seudah, now they could do havdalah. That's the difference between havdalah and kiddush. The hanamile and when No, technically speaking, they're allowed to do Havdalah before Arvit. Yeah. Okay. Vehanemile, one of these words also. Linyan mifsak, to do with the doing a hefsek in the Suudah. The lo mafsekina, you're not going to stop it at the end of the Shabbat in order to do Havdalah. But you're not allowed to start a new meal. Meaning to start a new meal then and there, no. Because the second it's nighttime and you have to do Havdalah, you're not allowed to start a new meal, right? And then do Havdalah later on. You have to do Havdalah and then you start a meal. However, though, if you already were in the middle of a Suudah, you don't have to stop the Suudah. That's lefsuke. So it says the Gemara, and also, lo amran al-achila, that's only if you were talking about eating, because it's Masech Hashuv. But if you were just only drinking, lo, you have to actually stop as well, which means, let's say a person is only drinking for Sudah Shlishit and they're not eating. So in such a case, they do have to stop for the Havdalah, because only if a person was eating and they're in the middle of a meal, then they don't need to do anything else. But if they're going to be in the middle of drinking, so drinking is not considered a Kovea Sudah with this. Okay? Ushtiya nami, and also drinking also lo amran. We didn't say it only by chamra v'shichra, which is basically wine and beer. Aval maya le'lamba. But if it's going to be drinking water, it doesn't matter because a person is always allowed to drink water even before Havdalah. You understand? That means Havdalah does not require you for water. If a person wants to drink water, they're allowed to drink water. Okay, that's actually brought down in Shulchan Aruch, by the way. Okay, so says the Gemara Upliga, and this argues on Rav Huna. That Rav Huna chazilu gavra d'shata mayas kodem Havdalah. But Rav Huna came and he saw somebody drinking water before Havdalah. Amale, he says, lo mistifem more maskara. Why you're not afraid of askara? Askara is a death, which is like a choking death. He says, well, you're not afraid of that. Anything you're going to eat, anything, klum, anything before Havdalah, mitato baskara. Meaning, don't ever try to think about eating before Havdalah. Havdalah, and then you eat. So Rabbanan, the Vera, Vashi, look up the Amaya. He says, no, but the Talmidei Chachamim, the Bet Midrash of Vashi, were not makpidim on water. That means even though there does exist such a concept, but that's mamash eating and drinking, but on water, there's no problem. You're allowed to drink water. Okay? Fine. Ba'amine Ravina ben Nachman bar Yitzchak. Ask Ravina from Nachman bar Yitzchak. Mi shelo kiddush b'erev Shabbat. Somebody that did not do on the night of Shabbat kiddush. Ma'u sheikadesh ve'olech kol yom kulo. Can he still do it the next day during the day of Shabbat? So imagine Friday night, somebody went and they slept, let's say, a bagel the day before. So basically, they wake up and it's already Shabbat morning. They slept through the entire Friday night. Yeah, it happens. Yeah? No? Maybe. Depends on the person. Yeah, but let's say a person, right? So now the question is, can he do kiddush on Shabbat morning, right? Or throughout the entire Shabbat day? Can he make up that kiddush of Friday night? So Amalei, so he told them, from the fact that the children of Bechia said, that somebody that did not do Havdalah Motzei Shabbat, they could do Mavdil ve'olech the entire week, kulo. Hachanami, so too the same thing. If you didn't do it on the Friday night, you could do it the entire Shabbat. So says the Gemara, how could he say such a thing? Eitvei, right, asks, right, they asked on Ravina from a Braita, Lele Shabbat ve'lele Yom Tov, yesh ben kiddusha lakodosh. So remember, the night of Shabbat, the night of Yom Tov, you have to do kiddush on the kos, on the cup. Yesh ben haskara, right, b'Birkat Hamazon. You have to mention Ya'alev Yavo or the Tzevach Litzenu in Birkat Hamazon. Shabbat v'Yom Tov and b'hem kiddusha lakos. Shabbat and Yom Tov during the day, there's no kiddusha lakos. Yesh ben haskara, but you do mention the Ya'alev Yavo or the Tzeh, right? Because basically during the Shabbat, there's no mamash real kiddush. It's just put up your geffen on Shabbat morning, right? If you're going to tell me that if you didn't do it on Friday night, you could do the entire Shabbat. You could have found a kiddush alakos. If you forgot on Friday night, you could do it during the day. Meaning, why does the Braita come and tell me that on Friday night, kiddush, the Yom Tov and Shabbat require kiddush? Shabbat morning, it only has in the Birkat Hamazon, but it doesn't have the kiddush. Because even if you do kiddush, it's only B'rei Geffen, but you don't really do kiddush. There's no Mekadesh Shabbat, there's no Mekadesh Yisrael Zemanim, right? There's no, it's just B'rei Geffen. You understand? We say psukim before, but it's not a real kiddush. So then here, there does exist such a case where you could find it. So this is Amaleh, De'i Loktani. No, this is an exception to the rule, meaning in general, on Shabbat morning and Yom Tov morning, is there kiddush? The answer is no. If a person forgot on Friday night or they forgot on the Yom Tov night, then you're right, he does have an opportunity, but that's not the general rule. Okay? So eighthly, we're going to ask now another question. Right? If a person has now, he doesn't have that much wine. Right? So now which one should he respect more, the nighttime or the daytime? Right? Which is basically exactly, that means basically the Friday night or Shabbat morning. What's more important? So says the Gemara, Kvod Yom Kodem, right? The Kvod Yom is better than Kvod Laila. So therefore, leave it for the daytime. If you only have one cup, Omer Alav, so now you're going to say on it, Kiddush Hayom, Kufei Amud Bet, right? 105b. You're going to say on it Kiddush Hayom. Kiddush Hayom, Kodem Lichvod Laila, because Kiddush Hayom. 1 second. That means what's more important? What's more important is the Kavod Hayom is more important because the Kiddush Hayom is Kodem Lichvod Laila. Now, if you're going to tell me now that somebody that did not say on Friday night, he could do it during the day, so do it that way. And then do two. Meaning that if a person doesn't have enough cups of wine, right? Don't do anything on Friday night. Do it on Shabbat morning and then do 2 for 1. And that's it. So no, we don't do that because it's chaviv the mitzvah in a certain time. Meaning, I'm never going to try to push off a mitzvah to do it later on, and then I could do 2 for 1s. We don't hold the 2 for 1s for mitzvot. Remember, just like we learned that we don't do mitzvot chavilot. We don't do it in package deals, right? The same thing. We don't do it's chaviv the mitzvah in the time. We're not going to wait until to do it later, and then we're going to do it this way, and that's it. No. You do it now, Friday night. So says the Gemara, do we actually say chaviv mitzvah b'shata? We learned in the Braita. Imagine somebody comes into his house on Motzei Shabbat. He does Havdalah. He says Borei Pri Gefen. Ala Maor. He does Borei Me'oresh. Ala Besamim. Borei Besamim. And then afterwards, he's going to do Havdalah Lakos. Now he says, V'im lo lakos echad. What means you only have 1 cup? Now, if you do that Havdalah in that cup, you're not going to have for the Bikat HaMazon of the Seudah. So he says, Manichod la'achar HaMazon. Wait until after the Seudah. And then do everything on that cup, meaning the Birkat HaMazon, you do everything on 1 cup. The Birkat HaMazon with the cup, with the Havdalah, and everything on the same cup. So that of it. Yeah. Well, the person is obligated to have Sudat Ravit. The only thing is, no, the Chatchila, obviously, a person has to. You understand? So he says, but the question though is, over there, we didn't say Chaviva Mitzvah Shata, which means when is the mitzvah? The mitzvah of the Havdalah is right now. So that Revit is going to be later on. What do we just say? Wait until later on, have your meal. Then after the meal, you do everything as a package deal. 1 second. If you're going to say Chaviva Mitzvah Shata, you should have done it right away. And you don't care about what's going to happen afterwards. So Amalei, he answers, Ana lo chikima'ana velo chozana. I'm not a chacham and I'm not a chozeh. I'm not like a navi. Velo yechidana, but I'm not the only one that says that. Ela gemarana, right? But rather we learned it in the yeshiva. V'sadarna ana, and I always learn this from my rabbis. V'chen morim b've midrash kvati, and they always pass like that in the bet of midrash, like what I just said, right? So now after this entire hagdama, they come and they answer. Shan elam ben ayule yoma la'puke yoma. There's a difference between coming into Shabbat and going out of Shabbat. Why? Ayule yoma, because when you want to come into Shabbat, kol kama de magdamina le adif. You always want to bring it in as early as possible. And therefore we make it chaviv. Apuke yom, but to get out of Shabbat, me'acharinan le. We purposely make it later. So it's not like on us, like a masa, like a heavy oil. You understand? People, you should know, it's always v'na'afochu. Babachaki can attest to this, of the many years that he's been in the community. Right? Friday night, you should see how people are rushing into the synagogue. Right? The real way of Shabbat should be that everyone should be early to the Bet Knesset on Friday. Why? Because to bring in the Shabbat, everyone's calm. They're this. You understand why? Because opposite. We want to come early. We want to accept upon ourselves Shabbat early. That is to come into the Shabbat. On Motzei Shabbat, I'm telling you, sometimes, it's already, I'm a minute overboard and they're already looking at their watches. They're already saying Arvit at the back. They're already running outside. Where are you running to? La'puke Shabbata, when you want to leave the Shabbat, the opposite. You want to take your time. You want to show to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, listen, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it quickly. Calmly, I want to make sure that I do it. What? The restaurants or this, whatever. Don't worry about it. The Parnassah will come. You'll get more beracha by doing the Rabbeinu Tam or by doing the other things than by rushing out and trying to start the fire in the restaurant. You understand? Right? So therefore, a person should just understand this, because this is what's brought down in the Gemara. The Gemara brings it down, the Halakha brings it down. Le'apuke yoma, which means to come out, we always want to push it off more. So therefore, here in the case of the Havdalah, what was the case? The person, to do the Kiddush, we asked, why don't you just leave the Kiddush for Shabbat morning and do 2 for 1? We answered Chaviva Mitzvah B'Shata, which means that it's so Chaviv the Mitzvah to do it in the proper time. When's the proper time to do it? Friday night. Motzei Shabbat. We said no. There, push off the Havdalah until after the Suda Revit Birkat Hamazon and do everything there. We said 1 second. There also we should do it. Chaviva Mitzvah B'Shata. Do it earlier. We answered no. I have Havdalah where you're taking out Shabbat.
Didn't we say that we cannot eat anything before Havdalah?
Very good. That's going to be a technical question, but here you only have 1 cup. So because of that, they're going to permit you in order to eat, just that way you could do it afterwards on everything. That's what we're trying to do. Right? So he says over here, I don't know if they're actually going to speak about it. Okay, fine. So, but now it makes sense, correct? According to everybody, everything's clear? The Yitzhak is the second Motzei Shabbat. The second 1 minute later, I already want to work. 1 second, it's a curse. How many people run to a curse? You tell a person, do you realize that work is a curse? It's a curse. You want to run to a curse? People are going to tell you, what are you talking about? And then they look, they think about it and say, you know what, you're right. Running to a curse. Why should I run to a curse? Wouldn't you want to be for another 20 minutes with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, wow, I've got another 20 minutes of Shabbat. I could enjoy, I could benefit, I could. For sure. Because technically speaking, Shita Maran is also Rabbeinu Tam. But they don't realize also the berachot that they get when they do Rabbeinu Tam. The berachah that you have throughout the entire week just because of fulfilling Rabbeinu Tam. And even accepting upon themselves Shabbat. Think about it. People come and now there's a new segula. Accept upon yourself Shabbat 10 minutes earlier, half an hour earlier, and you got segula for the exact same thing as Motzei Shabbat. It's not different. The concept is that you're adding on to the Shabbat. So instead of rushing out of Shabbat and running out and being 1 second, Shwai, what's going to happen? Another 2 minutes? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I say the same thing on Friday nights. Friday nights we sing Yigdal. Yigdal was a beautiful song based upon the Munah, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu and everything. Yeah? Ashkenazim love it, Sfaradim also. Moroccans, all Moroccans said it. Who didn't do it? Sometimes there was certain Dota Mizrach, they didn't do it. So because of that, what happened? So now it started seeping through that even in our Bet Knesiot, already Yigdal, people are already outside. Like they're not even here. Somebody came to me the other day, he wanted to say Shabbat Shalom. I said, I'm sorry. After Yigdal, you could say Shabbat Shalom to me. Very simple. Why? You don't understand. Yigdal is not part of the tefillah. In my book, I have it in my Siddur. In every Moroccan Siddur, it's there. You understand? And in a lot of Siddurim, it's also there. Some have a minhag not to say it. So, okay, fine. If you have a minhag not to say it, that's one thing. But if you're in a Bet Knesset, that this is a minhag, you're going to get up, go start kissing the echal, walking out, this, that. Aywa, where's the respect? You're in the middle of the Bet Knesset. You're in the middle of the tefillah. Imagine right now, in the middle of the tefillah, somebody gets up, he goes to the echal, kisses the echal, and he walks out. The guy's whacked. What's he doing? In the middle of tefillah, but there's no difference. The problem is that because they bring in their minhag into the Bet Knesset, so now all of a sudden everyone has to do like me. I don't say it, so now that's it. Aywa, you're part of a kahal. Al tifrosh min hatzibur. If everybody's saying it, sit down, right? You sit down, you say it, and that's it. You don't want to say it, learn something. But not to come and to make a whole, you understand? Right. But again, why? Because people want to rush out of the Bet Knesset. They're the first one, they want to be out. Why do you want to run out of the Bet Knesset? Tranquilo. I said, shwai. So it says over here in the Gemara, Shema mina meha matni tetamne. So we're going to learn from this Braita 8 different things. Listen carefully from this Braita. Number 1, Shema mina mavdil batfilah tzarich sheyivdil lakos. Even though you did havdalah in the Amidah, you still have to do havdalah lakos. Right? Because the Braita is talking about that somebody came into his house on Motzei Shabbat, Mistama, he already prayed Avit. And if he prayed Avit, he already did havdalah, but he still has to do havdalah lakos. Number 2, Shema Mina, we learned number 2, right? The Bracha Teuna Kos, the Birkat Hamazon also needs a cup. Why? Because sometimes you could think that maybe it doesn't need a cup. Number 3, Shema Mina Kos Shebracha Tzarich Shiur. We learned from here also, Kos Shebracha, you need a shiur for it, which means, because if not, then you could just do any type of thing. Just split it into 2. No, you need a shiur for the cup, meaning the minimum amount in order to drink, whether it's going to be the revit or whatever it is. Number 4, Shema Mina Varech Tzarich Shitom. If you already make the bracha, you have to taste it as well. Because if not, why is it that we had to say that you leave it for later on for the Birkat Hamazon? Just do Havdalah now. Don't drink from it. Wait for the Birkat Hamazon. Have still the Ravit. When you finish the Birkat Hamazon, then you drink it. But rather, no, when you do the Havdalah, you have to drink from it as well. Number 5, Shema Mina Tamo Pegamo. If you're going to drink a little bit from it even, now it's not really fitting to be a Kol Shebracha because now it's Pagum. What's the proof? Because if not, do the Havdalah, drink a sip, and then afterwards do it. No, because you have no more wine. You cannot add any more wine. Number 6, Shema Mina Ta'am Mavdil. We also learned that even though you tasted something on Motzei Shabbat before Havdalah, which means you don't have to wait until the next day before the Suda. You still do Havdalah then and there. That means, let's say a person came and he forgot, and he tasted something or ate something. You still do Havdalah right away. Number 7, Kuvav Amud Aleph. Shema Mina, Omer Shte Kedushot al Kos Echad. You're allowed to do 2 different Kiddushim, which is basically Havdalah and Kos Birkat Hamazon, in one Kos. And number 8, Shema Mina Bet Shammai, that this is all according to Rabbi Bet Shammai, Valibad Rabbi Yehuda, that according to Rabbi Yehuda, because if you remember, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, they had what was the seder of the Birkat Hamazon and the Kos and everything. So there, if you remember, we said that the Machloket was, Rabbi Yehuda holds, that according to everybody, you first do Birkat Hamazon, and then afterwards Havdalah. Okay, and then there's the Machloket has to do with the Ner and the Besamim. So therefore, according to Bet Shammai, you first do the Ner, Boreh Moresh, and then Besamim, and according to Bet Hillel, Afuch. So from this Braita, we are learning that it's going in accordance to Bet Shammai, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, not according to, because he said, first you do Ner, and then you do Besamim. So that's what's going in accordance to Bet Shammai. Even though Halacha L'Maaseh we don't do that, but that's just the way, and Bezrat Hashem we continue, Bezrat Hashem on Sunday.